as the camera lingers on the steel-white hood slicing through city haze, and you can nearly taste the crackling tension in the air. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was a 3-lane highway, mid-afternoon, where commuters crawl forward one after the other. Enter our driver, flashing high beams with reckless abandon, weaving without signal, closing in like a vulture seeking prey. Traffic slows, brake lights flood the scene, and yet the maniac driver doesn't ease up. Instead, they lean harder into aggression, tongue clicking in frustration, foot slamming the pedal lower, eyes bulging with adrenaline-fueled disregard. Let's freeze that moment. 5 feet behind the car in the right lane, scooting inches closer at 75 miles an hour. The terrified driver ahead tilts their head, confused, scared. Do they accelerate, move over, panic? And behind them, in the middle lane, another maniac driver follows suit. High beams blitzing like an assault weapon against innocents on the roadway. What happens next is true soundtrack-worthy mayhem. A screech of tires. The tailgater drifts blindly over lane stripes, tires ripping rubber across dotted lanes. Another camera catches a near collision in the middle lane, left shoulder nearly kissed by bumper. The innocent commuter jerks the wheel, heart likely pounding at 140 BPM, adrenaline too thick to swallow. They swerve back into safety, but for a moment, lost control, lost calm. Now rewind. Picture the second driver in the middle lane. No turn signal, just a sudden move into the shoulder, grass-flinging concrete curb-kissing chaos. You hear that crunch? That's rubber sacrificing itself to stupidity. And the driver of the maniac grins behind tinted glass, a soundless ha-ha, echoing because they've made it a stunt. This is road rage amplified, a dangerous combination of anger, anonymity, entitlement, and tunnel vision. When behind the wheel, the brain's prefrontal cortex goes out for coffee, and primal instincts hijack focus. It becomes about dominance rather than destination, about ego rather than empathy. And what's shocking, these aren't isolated psychotic events. Road rage is a subconscious addiction, fueling more aggression when brains go silent. Now, you, the viewer, might ask, what would I have done? If rubber hits pavement and pain inches closer, would you freeze, fight, or flee? One victim described once being boxed in by 2 maniacs left with nowhere to go. That victim said words still haunt them. It was like being in a dark alley, only I was on wheels and I couldn't run. Your survival instincts kick in. You're dialing your phone, you're praying you've got dash cam footage, you're calculating 911 versus survival. You decide to slow down, move aside, signal hazards, you breathe, you bury your foot into the pedal, you pray. But not everyone gets that second chance. The highway becomes a pressure cooker. One slip, one sudden move, and you're in a collision that could kill you or someone else. In these same 30 seconds, the second film clip rolls. Another driver deliberately slams their brakes to punish someone who dared slow up front. The jerky, violent jolts behind produce a cascade of brake lights, a chopping board of oncoming rage, and the maniac laughs again. The cops call this brake checking, a simple move that can cause a chain reaction crash and open a driver to criminal best charges. It's a deadly game of reaction. Is it funny? No. Is it scary? Absolutely. The question we have to ask, why do they do this? Social psychologists point to trait aggression, an underlying predisposition to hostility. Combine that with a public space where no one recognizes you. Your taunting, your belligerence can go unchecked. You're in a metal-o-matic shield with 3,000 pounds of steel. So go ahead, flex, switch off the camera, and these drivers walk away untouched. But every stomp on the pedal injects fear into others, and we, the viewers, feel it. We watch with stomachs clenched, eyes glued. We remember how heartbreakingly close it got. We remember the driver ahead who lost their cool. We see the dark grin behind the tinted windshield. We feel the skid. And there's no denying, this makes incredible footage. Millions of views, adrenaline-rich content, thrilling, addictive, terrifying. It's what YouTube Shorts thrives on. The raw, the unfiltered, the shocking. People latch on to the drama. But as viewers, we must ask, what's the real cost? Make no mistake, this isn't only entertainment. These are our friends, family, neighbors on the road. That driver could have been your dad, your coworker, your spouse. That tailgater could have turned that panic into tragedy. We can't unsee it. We can't pretend it's not dangerous. No, reckless, brutal, and needlessly violent. Now slow down that footage again. Zoom into the victim's face. They grip that steering wheel like a lifeline. They're white-knuckled, the knuckles turning blue. They press their lips into silence, not to antagonize. They swallow hard like they're in a war, and they pray. That final shot, the safe return to lane 1, heart racing, pulse pounding, you can see the relief. But the camera lingers. The high beam flash, a fleeting grin, tire smoke curling in the rear view. You feel the question, will this happen again tomorrow? Will that maniac driver roam free? Check statistics. Aggressive driving causes 66% of traffic fatalities, CERN Zero and Image 5. On average, 300 deaths per year tied to road rage, cite N Zero and Image 5. These are more than clips, they're warnings, they're wake-up calls, and they demand action. If you've ever faced this, you've got scars others can't see. Comment below, did you brake check? Did you record their plate? Did you report it? This is real talk for real people, and every voice matters. As this part ends, you're left with trembling hands, racing thoughts, and a cold rush down your spine. That's the power of Maniac Driver Meets the Road footage. Shock, awe, and a call to rethink what we accept behind the wheel. But what is it that drives someone to become a true maniac behind the wheel? What is happening inside the mind of a maniac driver? Let's go inside. The sun dips below the horizon. Streetlights flicker on. The hum of traffic swells. The highway breathes beneath 4 lanes of endless steel. In a blacked-out sports sedan, windows tinted like a mobster's limo, a maniac driver grips the wheel, not just with his hands, but with his very soul. Adrenaline, ego, impulse, instinct. These are the passengers in his car tonight. He punches the gas, the engine howls, the tachometer needle swings toward redline like a shark scenting blood. In this moment, the car isn't transportation, it's a weapon, a game controller, a badge of warped honor. Where the rubber meets the road, the driver meets his addiction. It starts with tailgating, always does. He spies a mid-size SUV in the right lane, moving 5 miles per hour under the limit. Unacceptable. Weak. He slams the accelerator, closes the distance. 5 car lengths, 3, 1. Now he's inches from the bumper. The SUV's driver glances nervously in the mirror. The maniac's lips curl into a smirk. Move, idiot, he growls under his breath. But the SUV won't play along. Now the maniac flips his high beams on, once, twice, flashing like a strobe light at a nightclub. The glare fills the SUV's rearview mirror, dazzling the eyes of the driver inside. Panic sets in. The SUV swerves slightly, unsure whether to speed up or pull over. And this is exactly the response the maniac craves. Control, fear, domination. Now let's pause. Inside this maniac driver's mind, something strange is happening. He's not just in a hurry. He's not just annoyed. No, he is operating in a state of predatory thrill. His brain's reward center is lighting up like Vegas at midnight. Psychologists call this instrumental aggression. He uses his car to provoke and punish. The more fear he sees in the other driver, the greater the high. And it is a high, a chemical surge, not unlike a drug hit. Cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine. Dopamine, yes, dopamine, the pleasure molecule. In the twisted neurochemistry of a maniac driver, every close call, every flashing headlight, every screech of tires delivers a rush. That's why so many of them smirk or laugh during the most dangerous stunts. They are, quite literally, getting off on it. Back on the highway, our maniac yanks the wheel left, blasting past the SUV in the middle lane. But it's not enough to pass. No, he pulls ahead and then slams the brakes. Brake check! The SUV driver panics again, stomping the brakes to avoid a crash. Horns blare. Chaos ripples outward. Another rush of dopamine, another small victory. This is no isolated event. Studies show that 66% of traffic fatalities involve aggressive driving. And behind each statistic is a person like this, convinced they own the road, intoxicated by power. Now we descend deeper into the maniac's psyche. Why does he feel this way? Several forces swirl within. 1. Anonymity. Behind tinted windows, he feels invisible. There are no social consequences. He's not Joe Smith from Elm Street. He's an avatar in a highway video game. 2. Ego fragility. Any perceived slight, someone blocking his lane, refusing to yield, becomes a challenge to his worth. The fragile ego must be defended at all costs. 3. Displaced anger. Life's frustrations, an argument with a boss, a bad day at work, a strained marriage, find their outlet here, where he holds the upper hand. 4. Addiction to stimulation. Some people crave extreme sensations. The risk of high-speed weaving, the near misses, the roar of the engine, it all feeds a craving for intensity. Back to the road. Our maniac now targets a minivan in the middle lane. The driver, a father of two, is trying to stay calm. The kids are in the back, watching a cartoon on the built-in screen. The maniac doesn't care. He roars up behind the van, riding the bumper at 80 miles per hour, high beams on. The father clenches the wheel, heart racing. He signals right, but there's no safe gap. Now the maniac starts weaving. Left, right, left again. Tires squeal. Rubber burns into asphalt. Where the rubber meets the road, fear meets the mind. The maniac pulls alongside the van, matching speed. For a sick moment, he stares through the side window, locking eyes with the father. He grins, a wolf's grin. The father mouths, "Please, kids." The maniac sees it, and for a flicker of a moment, empathy threatens to spark. But the high is too strong. He guns it, roaring past in a blur, weaving between cars like a predator through a herd. Why didn't he care? Because in this state, the maniac's empathy circuits are offline. The prefrontal cortex, the rational, moral part of the brain, is overridden by the amygdala and limbic system. Fight or flight becomes fight for thrills. He's no longer thinking of the human cost. He's chasing a chemical reward. Consider this. 80% of drivers admit to some form of road rage. But true maniacs go beyond yelling or gesturing. They weaponize their vehicles, and in doing so, they become temporary sociopaths. Back on the highway, a new target appears, a lone sedan in the fast lane, driving at the posted speed limit. The maniac locks in. He approaches fast, too fast. He wants this driver to move. Now. High beams, horn blare, tailgating so close that the sedan's license plate practically touches his bumper. But this driver is stubborn. They won't yield to intimidation. The maniac's pulse spikes. This is a challenge. His fragile ego swells. He weaves into the shoulder, a dangerous, illegal move, but a chance to assert dominance. Tires spray gravel. The car fishtails slightly. Danger flickers at the edges, but he saves it. Barely. The sedan driver watches in horror as the maniac swerves back into the lane ahead, cutting them off with inches to spare. Another dopamine hit. Another thrill. Now, the maniac laughs aloud. The laugh is unsettling, not joyous, but manic. He is flying, high on speed, risk, and victory. But here's the dark truth. This behavior escalates. The more times he gets away with it, the bolder he becomes. The brain learns. This is rewarding. Do it more.